What's up, everyone? It is BigPowner, and today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make a shield that I'm going to be using. Um, I think it's a really OP craft because it's going to give us minimum endurance charges. So if you are already using endurance charges, it's not going to help you. This is for a build that doesn't generate endurance charges. We get 2 endurance charges off of the 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 warlords, 2 to minimum charges, which means you just always have them. Endurance charges give us 4% physical damage reduction and 4% all resist. So 2 of those is 8% physical damage reduction, 8% all resistances. It's a really strong in slot stat, especially since with this build, we're kind of just stacking a lot of different defenses. We have really high evade, we have a lot of dodge, we have some armor for physical damage reduction. So there's a lot of, and then of course our immortal call and Arctic armor gives us more reduced damage taken. So we've got a lot of stacking damage reductions, and this will just give us another layer of damage reduction. So that's going to be really nice for us. The 2 to minimum endurance charge is really nice. It also makes it so that we could possibly do 1 to minimum endurance charges on one of our other items, which is a craft onto the suffixes, which would make it so we'd have max base endurance charges all the time, which would be 12% damage reduction, 12% to all resistances. So I think that that's a really good in slot. The other one that we're going to be going for is the socketed gems have reduced reservation. This is really good for this build, and a good amount of builds could utilize it. 15% damage, 15% reduced reservation in the socketed gems makes it so that instead of only being able to have 2 or 3 auras, I'm able to have 4 auras, which is really nice. So it's really nice because it makes it so that I'm able to have 4 auras, which would be over 100% reservation. Um, so that's super sweet. So, um, so I'm running Herald of Purity, Herald of Ice, Hatred, and Precision. And then once I take and you can do negative mana cost to get the mana cost really low, and then you can even get the precision a few levels in, and then you have a nice precision. You have the purity, which is more physical damage, which in a physical conversion to elemental, that's really nice because it boosts up that base. So that's good. And then of course the Herald of Ice, and then the Hatred is the physical more cold. So really good synergy in those 3 auras: the Herald of Purity, Herald of Ice, and Hatred. And also Herald of Purity is kind of nice because it gives us a little bit of extra defense through spawning the Herald of Purities. It's something else for enemies to hit. So I really like the combination. So I definitely want to keep this reduced reservation. The issue is that my first craft, this is kind of the cheaper craft. I basically went for a single influence to get, high HP, high percent life, and then the reduced reservation. There aren't really any of these that come up on the market, so you have to craft it yourself. I crafted this just basically spamming uh, single socket resonators with the pristine fossils because they're super cheap. So it's like a couple 2C a try. So you get like 75 tries in Exalt or something like that. 65 tries in Exalt. So that's not bad. It was a pretty good shield. But now I kind of want to take it to the next level. This is going to be a more expensive craft. I've taken the Keeper base, and gone ahead and rolled it up to 30%, so I'll have more base armor. If I winded up hitting a percent armor, that wouldn't be a bad thing to have on top of the number HP, the percent HP, the minimum endurance charges, and the the reduced reservation. This is going to require harvest to craft this shield, and it's going to require us to do some costly rolling, because we're looking for two stats to roll together on the top. And there's other stats that can possibly roll. We'll go ahead and look at that. Let me pull it up. So we've got, as far as health, we've got the number life, which we're going to be shooting for. We have one other life, which is the dual mod life. If we hit this with the percent life also, that would be great. Triple life, and then having the two minimum endurance on the bottom, and the reduced reservation. That would be pretty sweet. I would call that a done item. But the main thing, the percent life is actually a bigger increase than even the tier one. Than the tier 1 HP, as far as just flat out adding. I mean, depending on how much percent increase you have and how much number you have, it could be different for you. But, I definitely want the percent life and a good number roll. If I got like tier 1 percent life, and I had like, a couple tiers down, which it's like you lose about 10 life for each tier down, I would go ahead and keep that. Um, just being realistic, it's not like I'm not losing like everything, but having no number there would kind of suck. So I don't want that. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to slam these two together using the Awakener's Orb. We've isolated the +2 to minimum endurance. We've isolated the reduced reservation. If we wind up with something on the bottom off the roll, pretty much whatever's there is stuck. And I'm honestly willing to, like, whatever's there, I'll be fine with it. Just because the two other mods are just so strong that, if I have a dunce on there, and then I'm able to get my number life, my percent life, then I will be happy with the slot, just because it adds so much defenses. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm basically looking for 4 stats. If I wind up with an open suffix, what I'll wind up doing is I'll wind up forcing a resistance onto it. Unfortunately, we have um, these avoid chance to avoid lightning damage from hits, chance to avoid cold from hits. So this is going to make it so that we can't guaranteed force a resistance, but there's a lot higher chance that we're going to wind up getting a resistance versus the chance to avoid. Um, so we do keep that in mind, but like I said, it's whatever it is, it is. Hopefully I don't get something that's just completely useless, but that could be the case. It wouldn't be the end of the world, like I said, but pretty much everything on here, besides a few things, is useful in some way. Um, and then, like I said on the prefixes, if we can get those two things together, pretty much anything that we can put on there is going to be good. So we're going to go ahead and awaken this. I've isolated the two stats. Whenever you're using an Awakener's Orb, a reminder, I say it every time, um, you need to make sure that there's only one influence modifier on each item. You need to make sure that it's, the top tier. You don't want to wind up wasting an Awakener's Orb and 2 bases to do this. Since this is going to be a fairly expensive craft, the base was cheap, but the Awakener's Orb isn't. Cost me about an EX in alterations to roll on the reduced reservation. The shield cost 20C. Then I perfect fossiled it to 30%, because if you're going to be investing, 30% increased armor is a pretty nice percentage of increased armor on the shield, which the armor is going to be giving us more reduced reservation. We don't have a lot of places where we're picking up armor, so we want some bulk there, if possible, and 30% increased quality is pretty nice. So cheap, we've got cheap perfect fossils this league, so I'm not settling for anything besides 30% on each one of these because it's like 5C a roll. Um, so there's that. And then I just bought the second base, the non-keeper base. My choice for a shield was the Enzymite Tower Shield. I bought it with the influence already on it and then added the quality because it wasn't expensive to buy. The level requirement on it isn't that high. We want to be able to have at least an 84 because we need to be able to get have the chance for a tier 1 resistance. As the extra stat on there, you want to make sure that you're able to get that stuff. You need 85 for a tier 1 chance to block. That would be a good thing to get, an extra 7 to 8% chance to block. So 85 is what I settled on. That gives me a chance to get every stat that I want. So that was the level that I wound up going for. Gives me the chance to get all of the good mods. It also gives you the chance for the tier 1 all resistance. If I hit all resistance on the bottom tier 1, that would be absolutely amazing. It would be like a super good shield. So we are going to click on the base we want to destroy first, and then we're going to apply it to our keeper base. So we got chance to avoid fire, so that's not something we wanted, but it's not bad. But we've got open spots on our prefixes, so we're going to be able to go ahead and continue with the craft. So at this point, it's basically just going to be a combination of re-rolling the top until we wind up hitting it. Because I'm not going to settle for anything less than a tier 1 percent life with a high number to number HP roll. This could take me a while to craft. I already have a shield. I only have one life plus life, which you need to do the life plus more life rolls. Otherwise, you're not going to have a very high likelihood of hitting both of them because it'll just give you one. So I will do the one try on it, but I don't know if that's going to wind up being a item is finished, but we'll give it a shot. Okay, so I didn't hit it. I hit one. I hit one life roll. So I'm just basically going to be retrying 2EX a try. So obviously, you know, if I get something pretty good, that's why I'm not like I only want tier 1, which I could. As long as I have an open prefix, it's not really a big deal to re-roll it. If you wind up with 3 prefixes in the top, then that's where you're going to have to try to open up the slot. You absolutely don't want to do an annulment orb, because if you use an annulment orb, you're going to risk removing your endurance charges or your reduced reservation, which getting them back on there together is going to be like crazy hard. You absolutely don't want to do that. So if you wind up with 3 stats in the top and you're not happy with it, you're going to need to get the craft for reroll prefixes. Suffixes cannot be changed. If you have one of those, save it for that situation when you wind up with 3 stats on top stuck. The reason why you don't want to just use it as a reroll is because the likelihood of hitting 2 life rolls doing that is like close to nothing. So you don't want to be wasting that. Save it for in case you wind up with all of the stats in there full. So since I don't have any more rerolls of life plus life, I'm going to have to go back to farming to try to finish my shield. But now you guys know how to make it. The last thing I'd like to say or retouch on, if I would have had an open suffix, I wouldn't have done the life more life roll first. What I would have done is I would have tried to put on a resistance. I would have filled up the bottom first, because if I did life more life, if I wanted regen on the bottom, like number to number regen or percent regen, then that would have been the way to go. Just still go with a life, more life. But I wanted a resistance. If I get a resistance there, then it winds up giving me more, it winds up giving me more places where I can get higher damage. There are, which I was going to use this lightning one. Um, there are craftable options for shields that would be damage slots. If you wanted to craft this and leave the bottom slot open, what you could have done is you could have done multi-mod, can have 3 crafted modifiers on the bottom to hold the bottom slot so it's filled up. Then you would craft suffixes cannot be changed, so it would prevent when you're doing your rerolls on top that it wouldn't put a stat in the bottom. The thing with this is, though, if you have an empty stat on the top, um, and you wind up, say I hit life plus, percent life, and they're like tier 1 rolls, but there's an open slot on the top, and now there's an open slot on the bottom. I can only craft onto one of them. That's a situation you can wind up in. You can do the beast craft to add a stat, or you can just exalt slam it, craft onto whichever one you prefer. The crafting onto the bottom of the shield is actually pretty good. That wouldn't have been a bad option if I had an open suffix, because and the thing is, you would only have to craft on the multi-mod one time, because since your suffixes will be protected, you would be able to continue rolling as many times as you wanted, with the with the suffixes cannot be changed, just like I just did, but you would just craft on the multi-mod first. But we would be able to put on, like, the percent quality plus a stat, which, like this build, it needs a lot of strength, a lot of intelligence. So that wouldn't have been a bad option for the shield either. So if you're like struggling with strength or intelligence, then that might be the option if you wind up in that situation. That would be a pretty good one. There's also double damage chance. I don't have the max one, but there's a 5% chance to deal double damage. Obviously, like a 5% chance to deal more damage. And then there's also the increased attack speed. That's not the highest tier. I believe the highest tier is... I'm not sure. We can look on here. Let me see. I know they changed it. Attack speed. Oh, is it only 3 to 5? Oh, that's the max level now? That sucks. Well, then I would definitely go for... Is the chance to deal double damage? No, it's 4 to 5. Okay, so I would definitely go chance to deal double damage if you're looking for damage in that slot. If you had an open suffix, so 5% increase your damage. You could do increased effect of curses, 10% increase on 232s. Like, I think the chance to deal double damage would probably still be better. So that is the craft. I will be continuing this one. Anyways, thanks for watching. Peace.